Today's webinar for Making Tax Digital for Income Tax. Today's session is going to be all about the changes in legislation set out by HMRC on how sole traders and landlords are going to report on their income and expenses. We're here today to support you on that journey, provide guidance based on what HMRC has set out, but in a more simplified way. Today's webinar is more in-depth than top level, but it's not going to be as detailed as our online course where you can earn a digital badge, but I'll talk more about that later on in the session. The questions panel will be open today. I do have Sakanda from compliance even, who's on hand to answer your questions until 2:30. Any questions that do come through after 2:30 will be answered via email after the session has ended. If you do try and hang fire, listen to the content that we've got today, we might answer some of the questions that you have today. But again, don't worry, you don't get an answer live on the session, you will get a response after the session has ended. So the session is going to be approximately 45 minutes and you will receive a link to the recording of today's session in your follow-up email. You'll get that around an hour after the session has ended. So don't worry if you don't catch everything first time round, as there is a lot of information to absorb. You are going to be able to revisit the session at your own pace. One last thing I want to make you aware of, that this is not a product demonstration. This is purely all about legislation. However, we will be briefly talking about what product solutions we have for you. And there is a HMRC beta in place at the moment, and specifically for our Sage Accounting product. But again, I'm going to explain all about that later on today. My name is Abby. I'm a learning facilitator here at Sage, and I've been here nearly 5 years. So I'm going to take you through the Making Tax Digital for Income Tax and what it could mean for you. So some of you may have attended our webinars. This may be the first time, so just a little bit of housekeeping. You are going to be placed on mute automatically, and you can't unmute yourself. If you want to ask a question, you just need to use the little questions panel, and that's that little speech bubble icon down the right-hand side. It's got a little question mark in the middle. If you click on that, it'll open up the panel, and you can send your questions across to us. There is also a handout for you to download. If you click on the little icon, that looks like the document with the folded corner. That'll be available to you. There is also a printer-friendly version as well, if you want to download that. Again, just a reminder as well, this session is recorded and it's going to be provided to you in your follow-up email. And you're going to get that around an hour after the session has ended. Okay. So this is what we're going to be covering in today's webinar. So we're going to go through an introduction of Making Tax Digital, what it is, when it was first introduced. Then we'll look at who will be impacted and when the different thresholds will take place. What are the requirements? So we've broken this down into 3 sections: recording, submitting quarterly updates, and final adjustments and your tax return. We'll delve into the digital records and the quarterly reports that you can expect to provide to HMRC. We'll look at key dates for submissions and deadlines. And then lastly, we'll look at ways and means and how you can plan and prepare and what actions you may need to take. So what is Making Tax Digital for Income Tax? So Making Tax Digital, also known as MTD, was first introduced in 2019 for VAT. But it's 7 years later, in April 2026, when arguably one of the biggest changes is set to arrive. MTD for income tax will affect millions of sole traders and landlords. Now, it's going to be introduced in stages. We'll come on to that in just a sec. But you may have more time than you think. However, we are encouraging you to prepare now, so when the time comes, you have already got your ducks in a row. So who and when? So the criteria for MTD for income tax is sole traders and landlords with UK and/or foreign property, and also shared ownership properties. If you're a sole trader with multiple businesses, then it will be the combined income of those businesses that will determine if you cross the threshold. Now, you could also be a sole trader and a landlord, so therefore it is the combined income before expenses. A key point to note here is that if you get income from a jointly owned property, it is just your share of the property income that will count towards your qualifying income, not the whole amount, just your share. So phase one is based off those earning over £50,000 a year. Phase two is income over £30,000 a year, and phase three is over 20,000 a year. So you might be wondering, well, when is this all going to be happening? So the £50,000 threshold is from the 6th of April 2026. The £30,000 threshold is from the 6th of April 2027, and £20,000 by 6th of April 2028. Now, the scope of who is impacted by this legislation has changed slightly, and HMRC have decided income from partnerships no longer count towards qualifying income. So just a recap of who and when. So it is the combined turnover before expenses. It is for self-employment and property, UK and foreign. Qualifying income is assessed 2 tax years before the tax year in question. So for example, phase one, that's starting in April 2026, your income from 24 to 25 is being assessed. So let's take a look at some scenarios based on incomes, and these scenarios are going to be based on phase one, which is earning over £50,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch each scenario on your screen, and you simply just have to answer simply yes or no whether you think that individual will have to comply with MTD for income tax by April 2026. Okay, so we'll launch the first one. So Jenny is a sole trader and has self-employment income of 25,000. Will Jenny have to comply by April 2026? Simple yes or no. What do you think? You can pop your vote in there for me. Again, just to see if we're going to test your knowledge a little bit on what we've just discussed there. What we usually do is we wait until we get around 70–75%. So we'll just wait a little bit longer for those of you to try to get your votes in. Okay, so we'll close that down. We've got around 80% there, so don't worry if you haven't voted. Okay, so those of you who answered no, which all of you have, who did vote, that is correct. So Jenny won't need to comply with, until 2028. So we'll look at the next scenario. Okay, so next scenario. So Jenny is a sole trader, has self-employment income of 25, and also has rental income from a property of £14,000. So will Jenny need to comply from April 2026? Can you pop your votes again in there for me? Again, we'll just wait until we get around 70–75%. And then again, I'll share those results with you as well. Let's give it a little bit longer. Okay, so around 80% of you have voted there. So I'll just close that poll down. Don't worry if you haven't voted. And I'll share the results with you again. Okay, so to this one, 6% of you have said yes, and 94% of you have said no. So the combined income of for Jenny is 39,000. So she won't need to comply by April 2026, but she will need to comply by April 2027. Okay, so the last scenario, pop that on your screen there. Okay, so last scenario. So Jenny has self-employment income of 25,000. She has rental income of 14,000. And she has her half, her half of shared ownership rental income of 13,000. That's her half of that shared property. So will she need to comply by April 2026? So pop your votes in there for me. And again, we'll wait until we get around 70, 75%. And I will share those results with you again. Okay, we're nearly at 70% there, so don't worry if you haven't voted. What I'll do is I'll close that poll down. I'll share those results with you. Okay, so 83% of you have said yes, 17% of you have said no. The answer is yes, she will need to comply by April 2026, as her combined income of that 25,000, that 14,000 of sole rental income, and then she's got her half of the rental income, which is 13,000. So that takes it to 52,000 there. So that she will need to comply from April 2026. If you've got your handout downloaded, I have included these scenarios in there for you as well. So if you need to refer back to those, they are available to you in your handout. So let's move on to what are the requirements. So as I mentioned earlier, you can break down MTD for income tax into 3 sections. So firstly, we have recording your income and expenses. If you are already using, if you're already using the software, you may already be doing these steps. So in that case, nothing is really changing at that point. You just keep recording your transactions. You need to make sure that you are recording for each business and or every property that you own. Secondly is the quarterly updates. So these quarterly updates are just going to be totals for each category, which if you have entered into the software already, then they will be calculated and added together for you. You are not sending HMRC transactional data. And then lastly, any final adjustments and corrections and submitting a tax return. So although you can make adjustments throughout the year, you may need to check any final adjustments, or if you need to claim any relief, then this can be done at this point. Once all of the checks have been done, you can then submit your final tax return, and all that is just confirming everything that has already been submitted is to the best of your knowledge. Let's delve more into the digital records and the quarterly updates. So when it comes to processing in the software, you must enter all your income and expenses. If you are a sole trader and a landlord, you must keep your property digital records separate from your business digital records. When entering transactions, you must include the amount, the date, and the category. And the categories are defined by HMRC. So this could be turnover, cost of goods bought for resale, wages, salaries and other staff costs, car, van and travel expenses. So you might be wondering, well, what am I expected to record? So for your self-employment, it will be the likes of including sales, takings, fees, cost of stock, travel, office and other financial costs. If you own a property, independently or shared, you will be looking at recording rent, lease fees, reverse premiums and inducements, cost of repairs, maintenance, and potentially other services. Now, you may find that you're already recording all of this information. So this is just part of the process. That might not be any different for you. Additionally, you can automate some of your processing using something called bank feeds, which exists in our products already, such as Sage Accounting and Sage 50 Accounts. It may be something that you've already heard of, but you can use bank feeds rules to automate a lot of your transactions as and when they come in from the bank. So it just makes the whole processing of your data a bit quicker. Now, quarterly updates are a simple summary of income and expenses. It's going to support you and HMRC in understanding your tax and national insurance liability across the year. So what must be in a quarterly update? So all it is income and expense tax category totals for the period. So you're not sending HMRC transactional data. It's the same information that would be provided in the existing self-assessment tax return, but you're just providing it more often. So you're going to be providing it quarterly. Now, don't worry if your data is not completely accurate within these stages, because you can always adjust in the next quarter as the periods are cumulative. You just need to make sure at the final stage of coming to submit your tax return, it is as accurate to the best of your knowledge. So let's take a look at important deadlines. So the update periods for the quarterlies are by default aligned to the tax year. So for example, first quarterly update period is the 6th of April to the 5th of July. This is known as standard update periods. If your business has an accounting period aligned to the 31st of March, you will be able to report based on calendar update periods. All other businesses should use the standard periods. Now, the submission deadline for the following month is 1 month and 2 days after the end of the standard update period. The calendar quarters will also follow the same rule of 1 month and 2 days after the end of the period. And lastly, you've got the final tax return. So this is when you're going to submit and when you'll pay. So the deadline is the same as for the current self-assessment submission, so the 31st of January following the tax year. So that means if you are following the standard update periods, it gives you from April till the following January to make any adjustments and claim any applicable relief. But again, the date hasn't changed. So if you're already used to the normal self-assessment date, when you submit your final tax return and pay is exactly the same. So nothing has changed there. Okay, so let's have a look at the whole picture from start to finish. So let's just say we have the taxpayer. Let's call them Joe Bloggs. Joe Bloggs has 2 businesses one UK property solely owned that he rents out, and then also a property that he has shared ownership with his brother, where he also has a rental income. He adheres to the standard periods, so it's aligned to the tax year. He will digitally record income and expenses for each business he owns. Then he'll also have digital records for his property that he rents out. He will then submit quarterly updates for each one, but what's different with the property income is that you will submit one collective of quarterly reports, no matter how many reports, how many properties you own. So you've got 2 properties, you'll do one set of quarterly reports for those 2 properties. So those values are combined. Once all the quarterly updates have been submitted, you will enter the end of year process where you make any final adjustments and allowances. So this could be interest or dividend income, capital gain or claim for marriage allowance. Essentially anything that's on your tax return now that sits outside of the self-employment and property pages. Now I just want to remind you, all of these adjustments can be done throughout. You do not have to wait until the end to make all of these adjustments. Finally, by the 31st of January, you will then submit your final tax return. All you're doing at this point is just confirming that all the information you've already sent over is correct and accurate to the best of your knowledge, meaning HMRC can give you a more accurate estimation of your tax liability. If you miss any of the above deadlines, penalty points will apply. Under the new penalty regime, you will accrue points for late submissions and late payments, and these will translate into monetary fines once a certain amount of points have been accrued. So hopefully this gives you more clarity on what you can expect from Making Tax Digital for income tax. If you're already entering your records digitally, you're already halfway there. It's mainly the in-year process that has changed. Again, so when I say in-year process, we're referring to the quarterly updates. But again, all the software is doing is taking your category totals, and those totals are based on what you've entered into the software. And that's what needs to be sent on your quarterly updates and on your tax return. So it's just clarifying what you've already sent. It's just spreading out the workload rather than having to do it in one go. So, planning, preparation, and actions. So now that you understand what your obligations are under Making Tax Digital and the work that is involved, you want to take time to consider whether you want to engage with an agent, a bookkeeper, or an accountant if you don't have one already. Now, we can't tell you whether you need one or not. That is entirely up to you. But for example, you might want to use a bookkeeper for quarterly updates. You then might want to use a separate accountant for the end of year tax return. And if you're a landlord, you may have a specialised agent for the property business and a different agent for the remainder of the submissions. But HMRC have committed to providing a solution ahead of April 2026 that will allow a taxpayer to have more than one authorised agent. I know we've got a couple of questions coming in there via regarding Excel. I've got a question towards the end that I am going to cover using Excel, and we're going to talk more about whether how you would use Excel if that is the case. So hang fire on the Excel questions. I will come to that. Now, just coming back to the multiple agents. It is up to you how much of the process you're willing to do and which areas you may need support with. Here at Sage, we have an accountants directory where you can find accountants and bookkeepers who are familiar with our Sage products And there's even a map view on our site, so you can actually find one in your area. If you have the handout downloaded, click the link that says account directory, so that's just a little square in the top right. And that will take you to that website, and you can find, start that conversation with an agent, a bookkeeper, accountant, whichever you may need to use. But at least you can find one in your area who's familiar with our products as well. Okay, so moving on the dial on your MTD plans. So the first one we're going to talk about is eligibility. So you need to determine if you need to use MTD for income tax. Understand your income for the required periods to understand if you are over the income threshold and will need to comply with MTD next year or the year after or the year after that. Or if you're close to the threshold, in case you need to monitor this closely for when you do cross the threshold. Next, we've got digital record keeping. So ensure you have a system in place to keep digital records of your business income and expenses. This involves using compatible software to create and maintain these records and submit your information to HMRC. Plan and manage your time. So you can plan your time effectively to ensure you are ready and to get ready for your quarterly updates and make sure that they're on time, and you want to avoid any penalties. Next, you want to look at software. So you want to choose MTD compatible software that suits your business needs. Many new software providers offer solutions that can help you comply with the new requirements. Multiple agents. So as I've mentioned before, now that you understand your obligations, you might want to seek out support, whether you need multiple agents and how much of the work you're willing to do and how much you may need help with. Next, we've got training. So you want to consider yourself and, if you've got staff, and ensure that everyone is familiar with the new digital process and how to use any new software that you may acquire. Next, we have a voluntary sign up. So you can sign up for MTD for income tax before it becomes mandatory. This helps you get accustomed to the new system and iron out any issues early. And what I mean by this is that there is a HMRC beta. It's a public beta, and I'm going to talk more about this in just a moment. But you know, it's there for taxpayers who wish to be one of the early adopters. Okay, so lastly, stay informed. So keep up to date with any further announcements or changes to MTD for income tax. The government may provide additional guidance as the implementation date approaches. See further options. You know, we're going to have some links on our handout. If you're not sure how to download the handout, it's just a little icon that looks like a little document with a folded corner. Make sure you click on that and download our handout. And that's how you stay informed. So next, we're going to look at some product solutions. So some of the options that we offer at the moment is our cloud-based product. Now, I'm going to talk about pricing or anything like that. Just want to make you aware of the products currently available to you. So first, we have Sage Individual. So we have Individual free. So I can see we've already got questions coming through. Well, is there going to be a free solution? We have a free solution. We have Individual free, and then we have the next level up, which is it's just called Sage Individual. So the free one, it allows you to manage income and expenses, do self-employed income tax summary, record receipts manually, and also as well there is a free app. We then have the Sage individual features. So again, manage income expenses, self-employed tax summary, record receipts manually, manage sales invoices. There's a free mobile app. You can snap and scan receipts. In there, you can auto-categorize expenses, connect multiple bank accounts. You get 10 gigabytes of storage. And also as well, you get access to web chat and community support as well. Next, we have the Sage Accounting product. So we have Start, Standard, and Plus. Now, again, I'm not going to go into detail on these again, as there is numerous additional features that you can get access to on the higher variants of the product. So when you start to look at the solutions with Sage, these are your starting points. So again, we have Sage Individual, which is the basics to get access, to get your transactions, recorded digitally to be able to submit your quarterly updates to HMRC and be able to submit your final tax return. Then we have the Sage Accounting, where there's 3 different levels based on how you're wanting to process in the software, what features you want to get access to. Obviously, the higher up you go, the more you get access to. The beauty of the Sage Accounting is that you will get access to AI features as well, which provides insights and even more automation. Okay, so I want to summarize what we can offer. So we can offer software to keep you compliant. So with Sage Accounting, you've got the mobile app so you can process on the go. With our products, you can capture receipts and invoices, automate your processing. You can track invoices. You can forecast your cash flow. You can run management reports and see how your business is performing. We also offer free training and support. And just like today's session, we also offer free courses on Sage University. And lastly, we offer world-class technical support. We do have an MTD tax for income tax hub if you wish to check it out. You just click find out more, it will explain all of that in there. I'll quickly show you that now. So this is the MTD for income tax hub. We've got solutions in here. So if we scroll down, it tells you all about making tax digital for income tax, what it is, videos, and also as well, it's got product solutions on here. So if you want to get started today, want to join us today, pop on that link, the find out more link on your handout, scroll down and we've got products and solutions you can sign up straight away. Okay, so before I go into detail about the public beta set out by HMRC, I just want to explain what a beta phase is, because we've done this session a couple of times now, and we often get the question, well, what is a beta? What does it stand for? That sort of thing. So the beta phase is a crucial stage in software development. It often includes a group of real-life users, so like the beta we're going to be talking about in just a moment. We already have real-life sole traders already supporting us developing the existing software for MTD for income tax. So the purpose, it's part of pre-release testing, so it goes live before the full launch. It has limited user access to gather feedback. It focuses on usability, performance, and bug detection. And the feedback we get from our users drives final improvements. We want to hear much, back from our users as much as possible to get the best experience out of the software. And public betas can either be public or closed, which is private. So let's take a look at HMRC's public beta, which launched earlier this year. So who can join the private beta? So this beta began in April this year, but you are still able to join the public beta at any point during the tax year. Just because April has passed does not mean that you can't participate. However, it will mean that you will need to submit quarterly update information retrospectively. You are free to leave the beta at any point. So you can submit quarterly updates, but if you want to decide that you want to revert back to the old self-assessment process after the end of the tax year, then you can. Now, HMRC wouldn't encourage this, but the option is there. If you join the beta, you will be subject to the new MTD for income tax penalty regime, as opposed to the existing income tax regime. So you're not going to get any fines or anything like this within the beta phase, because obviously it's the testing phase. And you know, we're only human, we're not necessarily going to get it right first time. So there's not going to be any fines or anything like that within the beta phase. If you do join the beta, you will have access to HMRC's dedicated MTD customer support team to help you successfully transition to MTD for income tax and handle any issues. The team can also support you or your agent with some of your wider personal tax affairs, individual PAYE, and self-assessment matters. For participating agents, this extended support will be available for all clients in the MTD beta. And in order to join the beta, you must sign up to MTD and have software that is MTD compatible. The MTD sign-up process is done by the government website and has to be done by the taxpayer or their agent, but the agent must have an agent services account. So I have provided a guide, which I'm going to show you on the next slide. So we'll move over to that one. So I've provided a guide on how to get registered. Now, for this particular criteria, I'm not going to go through it all. I will leave you to do that in your own time. However, what I will say that there is some must-haves, things that you can have, and some things that will mean that you won't qualify for the beta. Check out the guide on how to volunteer. I've also provided a guide for accountants or agents. If you want to get your clients registered for a beta, we have a walkthrough video. That's the second link on the right there. Okay, some important questions answered. So I could see questions coming through there about spreadsheets, and you can use spreadsheets, but only if they link to compatible bridging software that can submit your figures to HMRC digitally. So manual entry, copying and pasting is not allowed. So technically, yes, you can use spreadsheets, but it's got to be to link to compatible bridging software. Another question that we often get is, well, will I need to pay every quarter? So this is one of the biggest myths about MTD, that sole traders need to do 4 year ends in a year, and now I'll have to pay 4 times as well. But this is not the case. When you pay, remains the same. So that deadline date has not changed. Does HMRC want to see all of my accounting data? No. MTD doesn't require you to submit more data, but it does change how often you report it. Instead of a single annual return, you now just need to send quarterly updates. With Making Tax Digital, will I pay more tax? HMRC state that Making Tax Digital is to close the tax gap, the avoidable errors and the fraud. If you've been completing your tax returns correctly, then Making Tax Digital shouldn't mean you pay any more or less tax. Okay, so let's summarize all the information we've covered today. I understand it's a lot of information to take in. Again, you're going to receive the recording at the end of this session if you need to re-watch and see what we've covered today. Let's go through what we've covered. So first phase begins in 2026 for those earning over 50,000. This process is for sole traders and landlords. Income is assessed 2 tax years before the tax year in question. Transactions will be recorded digitally and submitted via compatible software. You will submit 4 quarterly updates and a final tax return. Adjustments can be made throughout the year or at the year end. Landlords need 1 report per quarter, no matter how many properties. And you can register for the beta ahead of mandation in April 2026. Now, I've provided some links down the right-hand side for further information. So I've included that, again, that MTD Income Tax Hub. I've also provided an HMRC guidance. There you will also find who could be exempt from MTD for income tax. And then lastly, I have included some myth-busting videos, so myth-busting part 1 and 2. And that's where me and Duncan tackle some of the most common myths. They're very short videos, I think max 2 minutes long, and it might answer some of the questions you already have. Okay, so I'm just going to launch a quick question on your screen there before we continue. If you would like to be contacted with more details on software solutions and prices for your business, can you please pop in a yes or a no? And what we'll do is we'll get someone to contact you in due course to discuss your options. So if you can pop an answer, yes or no, whether you want to be contacted, and we'll give it some time and let you get your answers in. Again, even if you did click yes, there's no obligation. It's just to discuss your options. So don't worry, you're not obliged to take a product with us, but we can discuss options with you. I'll just give it a little bit longer to see if anyone else wants to pop an answer in. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll close that down. If you haven't popped an answer in there, don't worry. What I will do is if you can reply to your email, whether the one that you get your follow-up email, or you can reply to the one that you've registered with. If you pop your reply to that, if you do want to discuss your options with us. Okay, so as I've mentioned at the start, this webinar, believe it or not, has been quite top level. We do have an in-depth course on Sage University that you can complete at your own leisure. It's interactive. You can earn a digital badge by completing the course. You can share that badge on your email signature or social media like LinkedIn. If you want to get registered on your handout, just click here to get started. It is completely free. It's free to you. Again, it goes over what we've already covered today, but in a lot more detail. Okay, so what we'll do now is just a last call out for any questions if you want to get them through. Again, I won't be able to pick them up live on the session, but I will pick them up after the session has ended. I'll see if there's any that might be worth. So we can see a question there from Nigel. Which Sage products have bank feeds included? I'll quickly show you. When you go to have a look at the different software options, so if you look at accounting for individuals, when you have a look, it will tell you what you actually get included in here. So track your finances, stay organized, self-assessment. So even Sage Individual, so it'll be the paid one. You can connect your bank-to-bank feeds there with Sage Individual, not the free one. So you can have a look at that one as well. But you can see there, connect your bank feeds to automatically import your transactions. Okay, so just while waiting for any last questions to come through. Some of you may be aware that we have recently announced a partnership with the EFL. For those of you who aren't avid football fans, that is the English Football League. So we're working alongside Gary Neville, and we want to show support and shine a light on those all those small businesses that rally round and show up for your local team. We have a great competition where you can nominate either yourself or another small business. We have different prizes, so grand prize winners will win a sponsorship package worth up to £40,000 to either their local EFL Championship, League One or League Two club. Nominators will win a VIP matchday experience for 2 people at their local EFL club, just for nominating a verified local business. And then also as well, highly commended small businesses will receive 2 EFL tickets, and there's 69 winners up for grabs for that one, and they'll win 2 EFL tickets each to their local club and complimentary Sage products and an induction by the Sage team. So don't leave your local business on the bench, give them a game. Okay, so that does bring us to the end of today's session. Again, apologies, I've not been able to pick up all the questions, but I am going to reach out to you via email, so keep an eye out for that and I'll hopefully have an answer to your question. If you've got what you need today and you want to leave the session, you're going to receive an email in around an hour or so with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. Upon exiting the session, you are going to see a survey at the end. If you could please let us know any feedback regarding today's session, and the survey is mainly on how I've done today. So what did I do right? What could I have done better? What would you have liked to have seen? I appreciate any comments, whether they're short comment, long comment, appreciate anything. But just remember today's session has all been about breaking down the guidance that's been set out by HMRC. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this session up. I want to say thank you to you all for your participation today. And just a reminder, we've got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks, so don't be shy and get registered. So I want to say another thank you and take care.